A few years ago, I worked the night shift at a 24-hour gas station in a small town. It wasn't exactly thrilling, but the pay was decent, and I liked the quiet. Most nights, I'd only see a handful of customers after midnight. Truckers, late-night travelers, the occasional local grabbing beer or cigarettes. But one night something happened that still haunts me. It was around 2:30 a.m., and I was sitting behind the counter, scrolling through my phone. The security cameras showed an empty parking lot, and the highway outside was silent. Then the door chimed. I looked up, expecting to see a customer. But when I glanced at the glass doors, my stomach dropped. A man was standing there. He hadn't walked in. He was just standing outside, staring in at me. His face was off. It wasn't that he looked angry or creepy, it was the opposite. He was smiling, way too wide. I gave him an awkward nod, like, "Hey, you coming in?" But he just stood there, grinning, not moving. Something about him made me deeply uncomfortable. His clothes were normal, jeans, a hoodie, but there was something wrong with how he stood. Too still. I kept watching him through the glass, trying to act like I wasn't freaked out. Then, without warning, he lifted his hand and pointed directly at me. Then he mouthed two words. "I see you." My blood ran cold. I reached for the bat we kept behind the counter, my heart hammering. But the moment I moved, the lights flickered. For half a second, everything went dark. When the lights came back on, he was gone. I ran to the door and looked out. The parking lot was empty. There was no sign of him, no footprints, no car pulling away, just silence. I locked the doors and stayed behind the counter for the rest of my shift, eyes glued to the security cameras. The footage? It showed the door chiming open, but no one was there. And worse, it showed me, looking at the empty doorway, pointing and mouthing the words, "I see you." About 5 years ago, I had a roommate named Jake. We weren't best friends, but we got along well enough. We split the rent, watched movies together sometimes, normal stuff. At first, everything was fine. But then, I started noticing weird things. It started small. I'd wake up in the morning and find the fridge open, or the bathroom light on, even though I knew I turned it off. Then I started waking up feeling off, like I hadn't really been asleep. One morning I woke up groggy and disoriented. My blanket was on the floor, which was weird because I always sleep bundled up. I figured I must have kicked it off in the night, but then I saw something that made my stomach drop. My closet door was open, just a crack, and I knew for a fact I had closed it before bed. I told myself I was just being paranoid, but over the next few weeks it kept happening. I'd wake up to little things out of place. Closet open, my desk chair moved slightly, my phone placed on the opposite side of my nightstand. Then one night I woke up suddenly. It was pitch black. I couldn't tell what had woken me, but I had that awful feeling, like someone was in the room with me. I reached for my phone to check the time. As soon as I lit up the screen, I saw it. A notification. It was from my camera app. Motion detected, 3:13 a.m. I don't have security cameras. I clicked the notification, my hands shaking. It opened my front-facing camera. The last recorded video was from earlier that night. At 3:13 a.m., I pressed play. For the first few seconds, it was just darkness. Then, movement. A figure moved into view. Jake, standing in the doorway of my room, watching me sleep. I don't remember much after that, just that I grabbed my keys and got the hell out of there. I called a friend and stayed at their place for the night. The next day, I came back with 2 other people and packed my stuff while Jake was at work. I never confronted him. I never even told him I saw the video. I just moved out and changed my number. But sometimes I wonder, how many nights had he been in my room? And how many times had I not woken up? When I was 8 years old, I got sick. Nothing serious, just a bad flu that kept me home from school for a few days. My mom stayed home with me, making soup, checking my temperature, the usual. One afternoon, she told me she needed to run to the store to get more medicine and that she'd be back soon. She tucked me into bed, turned on my nightlight, and left. I must have dozed off because the next thing I knew, I heard the front door open. Mom was home. I could hear her keys jangling as she set them on the counter, then the sound of her shoes on the hardwood floor. She walked straight to my room, pushing the door open slowly. I expected her to come sit on my bed and check on me, but she didn't. She just stood in the doorway, watching me. "Hey, Mom," I croaked, my throat sore. She didn't answer. She just stood there. My stomach twisted. Something felt wrong. Even in the dim light of my nightlight, I could see her face was off. Her smile was too wide, her head tilted just a little too far to the side. I suddenly felt very, very awake. "Mom," I said again, sitting up. That's when I heard the front door open. Again. And then, my mother's voice, calling from the hallway. "Sweetie, I'm back!" My head snapped toward the doorway, but the woman standing there was gone. I screamed. My real mom ran into the room, dropping the grocery bag and rushing to my bed. "What's wrong? What happened?" I couldn't even speak. I just kept pointing at the empty doorway, shaking. She searched the house, checked the locks, even looked under my bed. Nothing. But I know what I saw, and sometimes I wonder, if I hadn't woken up, what would she have done?